What's up, frustrated JavaScript developers? It's your boy Michael, and in this video, I'm going to give you an update on my project called Tafi, which is a multi-tenant blog builder, CMS, and now has Vercel AI SDK built in with tool calling. And I went to Collision Conference, which is a conference in Toronto, and the whole hype was AI this, AI that, AI that. But the most informative thing I received from all of that was actually a video that MKBHD dropped. I'll link it down in the description. And he talks about AI as a product versus AI as a feature. And a lot of the startups that were there are AI as a product. But I got to thinking based on that video, what would happen if good products that actually solved problem had AI as a feature? And the first thing I thought of was this project that I'm working on, and I wanted to experiment adding tool calling using the Vercel AI SDK. Now, real quick, I do want to shout out Nico. He answered a lot of my questions on Twitter. Make sure to follow him. I believe he's the DX for Vercel AI SDK. I'm not sure what his position is, but he knows a lot. He's a great guy. Shoot him a follow. That being said, let me demo the application to you, and then we'll get into the code. So I did a little cleanup. I went a little fancy with the nav bar. You see that mirror-like effect right there. Don't tell me that's not cold, but either way. So did a little cleanup with the nav bar. Same old, same old. Now, one thing I did change about the site is the way the whole infrastructure works is you have to create a site first in order for you to create blogs. Before, I had it as just a CMS where you create blogs, and then I added the site feature, and it was kind of confusing. I even got a GitHub issue about it. So now you have to create a site first, and within each site you can create blogs. And here's the awesome part. I also updated the API, so you can fetch all the blogs on your account, right, across all different sites, but you can also fetch blogs on a per site basis, right, giving the API your site ID. Same with the slugs and all that type of good stuff. So API has been updated as well. But let's go through a quick demo. So let's say I want to create a site called YouTube. This is cool YouTube. That's the site description. And I'm going to do site subdomain YouTube. I won't have a logo. Let's just create the site. Site's been created. I click on the card. It says I have no articles. So I'll go on my documents. It says you have no documents. So I can click create. I'll just say YouTube doc. Save that. Open the doc. We'll say subscribe to Ross Mike's YouTube channel. Right? And hit the notification bell while you're at it too. So we're going to save. And then it says you can click publish here. YouTube is cool. Random title, random keywords, category. I'll do document, and then I'll upload a cover image as well, just to keep things cool. Let's upload this cat going through it. Hit submit. All right, articles here. We click on this, articles here as well. And what's cool is if I go to settings and I click this button right here, this is the actual blog, youtube.tafi.xyz. And if I click this here, look at that. I got my own blog site, right? So this is what the project entails right now. This is how it works. Feel free to use it. Let me know your thoughts. Now, here's the cool part. This is the addition. I added an AI element to it using Vercel's AI SDK. So not only can I chat with it, like say crack a joke, and hit send, and why don't scientists trust atoms? Because they make everything up. I actually hate AI now that I think about it. Anyway, the cool part is the tool calling. So if I click this right here and say list all my blog site, it's going to give me all my blog sites. And what's cool is I'm rendering the card components I use on the dashboard. So check this out. If I click on this blog right here, it just takes me to the dashboard. Isn't that cool, right? And we can go further than that. I can say create a blog site for me, right? And it's going to ask you, what do I want to name it? Can I provide a brief description? What subdomain and a logo URL? Okay, so let's say, oh, and it's funny too. Once I have this info, I'll give you the blog site running faster that you can see super. Okay, that's funny. So name it Michael is cool. Subdomain is Michael is cool. Description is Michael is cool. And logo, just leave blank. And I'm going to hit send. And let's see if it creates it. And there you go. It says your blog, okay, created null. The reason why this is null is because it's supposed to pull my first name, but I don't have a first name on this account. That's why. Michael, it's called Michael is cool, so I'll fix that. It's called Michael is cool. You can check by clicking the button. So if I click on the website, look at the subdomain, look at the name, look at the description, right? Another thing you can do is you can type add, and then you can see all the all the blog sites that you have, and you can click one to specify that you are focusing on this one right here. All right, so let's dive into the code. So all the action happens under CMS. So under CMS is essentially this dashboard right here. So CMS is here. You have home, AI, API, and setting, right? Home is basically this page right here. And when you click on a specific blog, it's going to take you under sites, then slash the site ID. So if I click on YouTube right here, notice the URL /site/site ID. And this is where all, the blog stuff happens. This is where I can create a document. This is where I can preview it. This is where I can publish it. This is where I can create a category and author. And most of these are just simple forms, right? Like I have a form here. I take all the information, and then I have an on submit function that fires off a server action that stores this information in a database, right? So that stuff is pretty simple. Again, and I did a video on this. The link will be in the description down below. Right? And for the site settings, that would be under settings here. And what's cool under site settings that you can do is you can change the name, the description, and the subdomain, right? And if the subdomain's already been taken, it will tell you it's taken and you can't do anything. You can also delete the site. Actually, let's just delete this right now. And YouTube is gone, unfortunately. We can click on this just to continue this video. Now, all the sauce regarding the AI happens under CMS/AI because that's where it's found, CMS/AI. And let's go through this code. So under CMS.ai, we have a couple things. Get the user ID. I read existing messages, so basically chat history from my database. I store this in Supabase. The setup I have for storing the messages right now isn't the most scalable, but again, this is all an alpha, right? So just wanted to get something going. So I pull up all the messages and I check if there are no messages, just to store an empty array, just so the chat history can be empty. And then I return this chat component passing the messages with an ID. So when we open the chat component, this is what we have right here. I use chat from Vercel AI SDK that gives me messages, input, handle, input, change, handle, submit, set input, is loading, and an error state. And then I basically have a use effect that if we're erroring, pass the error message, toast message, and then I have this ref right here. And the ref essentially is to just make sure that when I'm on this page, so let's say I'm scrolled up, right? And then I go home and I come back, brings me to the bottom side. So just little UX improvement right there. And then I have this function called render tool invocation. Essentially what this does is I have a couple tools I built, and what this does is it checks what tools the AI model, the LLM, is calling in order to perform a specific task. And when it finds out, let's say I'm creating a site, this switch case is going to check, the switch statement is going to check if create site has been used. And if create site has been used, this is what's going to render. So in our case, if you remember when I asked it to create me a blog site, it asked me what it needed. I gave it the information, and then it rendered this information right here. It rendered this line and these buttons. And if you look at it right here, I render the message, and then I render the website button and the dashboard button, which link off to their respective places. And then I have this JSX right here, and all this does is loop through messages, renders the messages. So for example, crack a joke, all that type of stuff. But here's where it gets interesting. The reason why I have this render tool invocation is because the second a tool is called, it will render whatever needs to get rendered. But what happens when someone leaves the page, refreshes, because by default chat history is not stored. So what I do here is in the JSX, I store chat history in the database, and I also, again, I'll show you how I store it. I also check here what tools have been called. So let me open the database actually and show you. Again, this is not the best way to store chat history. Again, I just wanted to get something going, but to show you, here I have this array of messages. Notice how it says role user. So this is what I typed, and this is what the LLM responded with. Role assistant, type, tool result, read site, and then the result data. So I take this information and then I render what needs to get rendered. Again, it's the same thing as the switch statement, but this switch statement renders the direct response from the LLM. And this renders the saved chat history, right? So if I leave the page and come back, this is what renders. Because when I didn't have this and all I had was this, the moment I refreshed, the tool calling stuff would disappear. But this makes sure that it's all there. And then last but not least, I have prompt form. And prompt form is essentially this bar right here. So that's pretty simple. Now, to show you where all the tool calling and stuff happens, it happens in this post request /chat /API/chat, the route.ts file. Again, this convention comes from Vercel AI SDK. Highly suggest you check it out. And this is where all the beautiful sauce happens. So I have I use stream text, specify the model, which is GPT-4o. System, this is like the default system prompt. So I told the model, you are Tafi AI, an AI assistant helping users of Tafi create and manage their blog sites and content. The user's first name is user first name and their email is this. I don't know why I added that, just for, I guess, just to make you feel personal. And then I tell it, I repeat, do not render response in Markdown because that's annoying to handle. And I say, be friendly, crack a joke when you can, and be very human-like and not robotic. And then I pass the messages to a convert to core messages. Again, this is from the Vercel AI SDK. And tools is where it all happens. So I call tools and it's an object of tools. So let's go through a couple of them. I have this tool called create site, and I pass it a couple of things. A description of the tool, the parameters of the tool, meaning what does it need? It needs a site name, it needs a site description, it needs a site subdomain, it needs a site logo. So these are the parameters. And then what functions should it execute in order to complete this task? So there's this execute right here. It's an async function. And I pass these parameters to the execute. And I tell execute, run this server action I have called create sites, right? And create sites basically, again, this is the same function I use to create the site when you fill out the form, right? And I tell this tool to use this function, and once it's done, I tell it to return all the information I need in order to render whatever it is I want to render. In this case, it's this right here, right? So that's essentially what I'm doing. I have multiple tools. So I have create site, I have read site, update site name, update subdomain, and I can go on and on with this. And this is why I love the idea of AI as a feature versus AI as a product. Now, my blog site, my blog builder Tafi, I can really build some cool features using tool calling. Basically build a chat-like interface where people can just talk to the AI and it does the work for them. And last but not least, I use this onFinish callback that gives me some information like text, tool calls, tool results. And essentially I just have some conditionals that if it's just a text, store the message, right? Remember how I stored in the database, store the message as role assistant and content text. And then if it's any of the tool names, right now I have read site and create site, I tell it to store the message in a specific format that makes it very easy for me to render the chat history. And that's pretty much it. And what's exciting about this is you have access to the code yourself. So why don't you contribute to it? Maybe fork it and play around with it. I truly believe if you want to learn how to build using Vercel AI SDK, multi-tenant sites, all that type of stuff, find a GitHub repo, fork the code and play with it, try to break it, try to fix some things. There's a lot of things that are not perfect in this code because I'm just building it and learning new things and using this as a resource to learn new things as well. Because I don't just want to learn Vercel AI SDK for no reason. I want to build something and in the process learn. So check out this GitHub repo. Make sure to hit a star. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe. Hit the notification bell. I really appreciate everyone supporting the channel. I got more videos coming out soon. Just been busy with work the last week. But thank you so much for watching. I will see you in the next one. Peace.